Seeing little kids is not the good thing, you know.
Southside Pastor Corey Brooks, spokesman for 6-month-old Janila Watkins' family, fighting tears after learning the baby died of her gunshot wounds.
We're totally taken back and saddened by the whole event.
My name is Anthony Caldwell, and I'm president of Higher Power Films, creating films to change the minds and spirit of humanity. Today is March 19th, the year 2013, and it's a sad day here in Chicago with the death of Janila Watkins, a 6-month-old baby, murdered here on our streets. An innocent spirit, an innocent angel, shot 5 times, and at this moment her funeral is going on. There's too much violence here on the streets. I'm creating this 4-part series so maybe we can find some solutions, and with whoever, if you're at home, to be able to donate or be able to give your time or whatever you can to help with the solutions. But the violence is out of hand. Too many innocent lives have been taken here. Join me on this journey. The footage you're about to see now is the footage about this little angel.
Police say it was around 12:45 in the 6500 block of Maryland Avenue when 28-year-old Jonathan Watkins parked his van to change his baby's diaper. With the baby on the front passenger seat, police say a gunman ran up from behind, shot Jonathan and Janila multiple times and took off. Janila's aunt, just blocks away, heard the shots fired.
Big gunshots. Big gunshots.
How many would you say?
10.
Jonathan was taken to Northwestern. The baby was rushed to Comer's Children's Hospital in critical condition. The family prays she'll make it out of surgery.
They knew she was in there, and they tried to take my niece's life, and it's just so wrong. We just praying.
It doesn't have to be to this extreme, Lord.
The Woodlawn community huddled together in the cold tonight, hands intertwined, their heads bowed, one thought on their minds as they mourn yet another untimely gang-related death. This time, the victim was 6-month-old Janila Watkins. As some mothers passed out flyers spreading the news about a killer on the loose, these mothers shared their feelings. They've lost their kids to gang violence, too. And Jeanette Albert lost her son Darian in 2009. He was beaten to death.
It made me sick. I couldn't eat. I was so I mean, we hear about our kids every day, and it's bad enough that they can't make it to 18, but to hear about a 6-month-old it's heartbreaking.
Diana Aguilar's 6-year-old daughter, Aaliyah, died in her arms almost 1 year ago to the day.
It was like reliving my moment all over again, and it's the worst thing ever. And my heart goes out to this family. A 6-month-old baby, a 6-month-old.
And Esther Stroud's son was stabbed to death in 2008.
We support each other because you have good days and you have bad days.
Their sadness is palpable. Across the city earlier in the day, anger and frustration from the top cop.
This is another tragedy because no child, and certainly not an infant, should be the victim of gang violence.
To Chicago's chief executive.
This is a senseless, despicable act of violence that is heartbreaking.
Janila was shot multiple times Monday afternoon as her father changed the infant's diaper inside this van. Police say the gunman blindsided his intended target, 25-year-old Jonathan Watkins, and killed the baby instead.
We begin, though, with the funeral for 6-month-old Janila Watkins.
She was shot and killed last week as she sat in a minivan with her father. ABC 7's Ben Bradley is live at the New Beginnings Church on Chicago's South Side. Ben?
Sylvia and Linda, this is a terrible sight, a funeral program for a 6-month-old baby, killed not by natural causes, but by gun violence. The face smiling in this photo replaced by the emptiness of a lifeless body inside an open casket. This is a live look now inside the church as hundreds of mourners are paying their respects during the wake for Janila Watkins. That funeral is getting underway right now. In the front row, Janila's mom and dad and other family members. The mother and father appeared to hold each other up as they stood in front of their daughter's casket wearing white. Police have said they think the baby's father, Jonathan, was the intended target, but the bullets, of course, did not discriminate. Janila's funeral program includes a quote from her father. I'll keep your memories, cherish them with love, he wrote. Although you, my darling daughter, was with us just a while, you'll live on in my heart. I'll always remember your smile. It is signed simply, Daddy.
It's not the youngest child that I've buried, but it's the youngest child that I've ever had to be shot and killed, murdered. That is totally different than anything I've ever experienced before, and something I never ever want to experience again.
We're going to take you now to Chicago, where this past weekend at least 52 people were shot, 8 of them killed, in a wave of violence across the city. What is going on there? Here's Chris Bury.
The mayhem at this housing project made no more sense than any of the other shootings. A Father's Day party boiled over. 5 shot, including a 1-year-old girl. Gunned down in a weekend of violence so typical it didn't even make the front pages.
They're waging war in the streets of Chicago, and we're losing children every single day.
Most of the shootings took place in poor neighborhoods, far from downtown and tourist attractions. One reason much of the city seems to be shrugging its shoulders.
I think people just say, oh, it's a bunch of gangbangers shooting at each other. Unfortunately, though, often a lot of innocent people get caught in the crossfire.
The losses are staggering. Today, this family learned that their 17-year-old was found shot to death just this morning.
I mean, this is crazy. I mean, they didn't have to kill my son.
A dozen gunshot victims came here to Stroger Hospital. 1 died, others are hanging on.
We had a young girl come in that was shot in the back and will probably be paralyzed
for the rest of her life.
For the rest of her life.
The shootings now commonplace in a city where gangs are powerful, guns plentiful.
Beyond the guns and the gangs, the city is coping with a street culture in which all too often the silliest squabbles lead to deadly force.
I think people have just grown up thinking that, you know, if I'm mad at you, I'm going to grab my gun and shoot you.
So 52 shot, 8 dead in only 3 days, and the city seems all but numb to an epidemic of violence. Chris Bury, ABC News, Chicago.
It hurts. I hurt a lot. I talk to her every day, you know, let her know I love her. It hurts.
That is Hydea Pendleton's mother describing the heartache of losing her daughter to gun violence. She spoke with us after taping Windy City Live's
Violence has become a topic of national conversation, but nowhere does it hit closer to home than here in Chicago. I met 6-year-old Desiree, who lost her father when she was just 3.
I used to play with him a long time ago, but what happened to him? He got
Breaking
shot.
news tonight, 2 young men now charged in the shooting death of Hydea Pendleton. The Chicago 15-year-old's killing 2 weeks ago gained the attention of President Obama and the First Lady.
Pendleton's parents are in Washington, D.C. tonight. They'll be guests of the First Lady at the President's State of the Union address tomorrow night.
Police say 18-year-old Michael Ward has confessed to firing the fatal shots. 20-year-old Kenneth Williams allegedly drove the getaway car.
They were attempting to retaliate for a previous shooting where Williams was shot in July of this year. And just to kind of complete the circle, in that shooting, we made an arrest. Williams refused to prosecute that arrest.
Instead, police say the two teamed up to resort to street justice, but got it horribly wrong. Hydea Pendleton and her friends mistaken for members of a rival gang. Police say they were in fact good kids celebrating the end of finals. Hydea had even performed during President Obama's inaugural festivities. Another twist, Michael Ward was charged with unlawful use of a weapon early last year. Illinois doesn't have mandatory minimum sentences, and he was given probation.
Michael Ward would not have been on the street of New York City to commit this act if it happened there. I don't know if I can make that any clearer.
In the 2 weeks since Hydea's murder, the 15-year-old has become symbolic of Chicago's gun and gang culture. First Lady Michelle Obama attended Hydea's funeral Saturday. Tomorrow, her parents will be in the audience for the President's State of the Union.
Teenagers have now been charged with murder in the drive-by shooting death of a 6-year-old girl. Unfortunately, hers is not the only violent death in Chicago this weekend. At least 7 people were killed, dozens more wounded by gunfire. ABC 7's Sarah Schulte is here now with that story. Sarah. Karen, Aaliyah Shell was on the front porch of her house with her mother, sister, and a male when police say a pickup truck carrying 18-year-old Juan Barraza and a 16-year-old opened fire. Aaliyah was hit several times. She died a short time later at the hospital. Gun violence injured another child late this afternoon, also on the south side. Detectives, crime tape, evidence markers, a familiar scene, especially this weekend. Today, police were called to yet another shooting. A 30-year-old mother and her 1-year-old child were grazed by bullets in the Chatham neighborhood on the city's south side. This comes just 24 hours after another child, 6-year-old Aaliyah Shell, was shot and killed while playing on the front porch of her little village home.
We cannot lose another child to gun violence. Unfortunate, if they stay silent, this is going to
like
continue.
this here in Chicago sum up the turmoil that takes place on the streets. While only 187 U.S. soldiers have been killed in Iraq so far this year, a whopping 257 residents have been killed right here in Chicago.
Breaking news tonight. Police are on the scene of a deadly shooting in Chicago's Chatham neighborhood. The incident marks a violent end to a bloody first week of 2013 in Chicago. Good evening, everyone. I'm Robert Jordan.
I'm Jackie Bang. Gaynor Hall is live on the south side with more. Gaynor.
Bob and Jackie, after more than 500 homicides in 2012, the new year in Chicago again starting off with the bang of gunfire. This makes 10 deadly shootings so far in the first week of 2013.
Tonight,
the police continue to investigate this latest shooting, searching for suspects, and one neighbor writes on her Facebook page, quote, "Another parent will receive the news tonight of a loved one gone. It's just too much to bear." We are reporting live from the Chatham neighborhood tonight. Gaynor Hall, WGN News.
What would happen if instead of grabbing that gun, you waited an hour?
An hour could be your last hour. You ain't got time to think you.
You gonna be the prey or you the predator?
You're gonna be what?
The prey or the predator? Which one you gonna be?
I'm creating this film to try to help our youth. For this, not only the African American youth here in the urban cities, but also the rural countrysides of all colors and races, American kids that are committing suicide, dying at a great rate, whose minds are being manipulated and messed up because of some of the things that they see and the things that they are exposed to. Some of our youth cannot even walk the streets without being forced into a situation that is a life or death situation. So please, come with me on this journey. This 4-part series is going to cover the causes, but it's also going to cover the solutions, focusing on all the entities and organizations that are doing something to help. There are a lot of them. If you're like me, I was sitting at home and didn't know what to do. I kept looking at the violence and it bothered me and I felt powerless to be able to do anything. So I created a film. You can see that film on my YouTube page, www.youtube.com/Producer Tony 2001. It's called Future Shock Violence in Chicago. This 4-part series is going to cover the causes, the solutions, and ways that you can help. It's also not only going to cover the violence in Chicago, but at the end we're going to cover some of the violence in America. It's not just the youth here in the urban cities that are dying at a great proportional rate, but all over this country. Mass shootings, youth committing suicide in rural areas. But my film is on Chicago and I have to concentrate this particular film on that situation right now because there's an entire generation being wiped out. And for the youth that's here that want to get out of a gang, that want something with their life, that want to do something, we have to be able to find concrete solutions. I spoke with Superintendent McCarthy and I've watched and followed him to see if what he says is sincere. And from what I've seen, he's trying a lot of different tactics and things along with the mayor to try to change some things here. Is it enough? You be the judge. Contact me. Let me know how you feel about this. We have to do more than what we're doing. Today is March 19, 2013, and it's about to get warm outside here in the streets of Chicago. And not only myself, but others are fearful for their life. Not just here in the urban area, in the rural, in the urban part of Chicago, but all over. Violence is rampant here. And I need your help to get the word out and to try to find solutions. The solutions that I hear a lot of people don't know about, I need your support to try to get those solutions out. This 4-part series, if you look at my page, www.indiegogo.com, and type in Future Shock, Violence in Chicago, I can use your support on that page. Join me in the journey.
And as you know, this week in my State of the Union, I talked about Hadiya on Tuesday night. And the fact that, unfortunately, what happened to Hadiya is not unique. It's not unique to Chicago. It's not unique to this country. Too many of our children are being taken away from us. 2 months ago, America mourned 26 innocent first graders and their educators in Newtown. And today I had the high honor of giving the highest civilian award I can give to the parent or the families of the educators who had been killed in Newtown. And there was something profound and uniquely heartbreaking and tragic, obviously, about a group of 6-year-olds being killed. But last year, there were 443 murders with a firearm on the streets of this city. And 65 of those victims were 18 and under. So that's the equivalent of a new town every 4 months.
Chicago! When President Obama returned to Chicago last week to talk about gun violence, 14-year-old Destiny Warren was one of the high school students standing behind him. A few hours later, Destiny's 18-year-old sister, Janae, was shot and killed in this alley in North Chicago.
All this gun violence that's going on out here, you never think that it'll be your child. This is the hardest thing for me in my life.
According to family members, Janae wasn't the intended target of the gunman. The same was apparently true in 15-year-old Hadiya Pendleton's murder. Her parents also attended the president's Chicago speech, where he said this about Hadiya's death.
What happened to Hadiya is not unique.
The Pendletons say they were heartbroken to find out that another Chicago family is now dealing with the loss of a child.
And just knowing how devastated this mother actually was, just because I can relate now, my heart, it just feels totally different. It's just, I was devastated for her.
The Pendletons say they called the McFarland family to offer their condolences. Janae McFarland, according to her parents, had talked about Hadiya Pendleton's murder a few days before she herself was killed.
She was like, "Mama, that's sad. I feel so bad for that little girl." Every time she saw kids on TV, she was like, "Mama, that's so sad. I feel so bad for these people that gotta leave their kids."
Janae had a 3-month-old son who will now grow up without a mother. Her parents say they will raise him and try their best to keep him safe.
And Wolf, sadly, she was not the only teenager to die last Friday night after President Obama's speech. 18-year-old Frances Colon, a senior in high school here in Chicago, was also killed. Her family says that she saw the president's helicopter flying over the city of Chicago. She went to a corner store to get a pop and some chips and was caught in gang crossfire. A senior in high school, her family said she wanted to be a lawyer.
It's amazing how truth, no matter how old it is still wise in its years, no matter what time period it is, whether it be the 19th century, the 18th century, the 21st century. Here are the words of one great president that I hope our president listens to. His name was Franklin D. Roosevelt. And I really believe that if we pass the second Bill of Rights, that we can drop some of the laws and some of the amendments we have now, because this covers all Americans, all human beings in this country. And this is what it boils down to: human beings, human lives, the equality of what we strive for and what this country is supposed to stand for. Here are the words of Franklin D. Roosevelt.
In our day, certain economic proofs have become accepted as self-evident. A second Bill of Rights, under which a new basis of security and prosperity can be established for all, regardless of station or race or creed. Among these are the right to a useful and remunerative job, the right to earn enough to provide adequate food and clothing and recreation, the right of every farmer to raise and sell his products at a return which will give him and his family a decent living, the right of every businessman, large and small, to trade in an atmosphere of freedom, freedom from unfair competition and domination by monopolies at home or abroad, the right of every family to a decent home, the right to adequate medical care and the opportunity to achieve and enjoy good health, the right to adequate protection from the economic fears of old age, sickness, accident, and unemployment, the right to a good education. All of these rights spell security. And after this war is won, we must be prepared to move forward in the implementation of these rights to new goals of human happiness and well-being. For unless there is security here at home, there cannot be lasting peace in the world.
Let me tell you who to blame. Blame the boy lying at your feet, his body oozing life through the hole in his stomach where the bullet tore him apart. Blame him for challenging you, for not looking away and for not backing down when you pulled out the gun. Blame your mother for bringing you into this world when she was but a kid herself and for dragging you up, not bringing you up. Blame society for not giving you hope. Blame your father for not being there, the man who looked after himself instead of looking after you. Blame the gun in your hand for making you a target, for making you more likely to be picked on. Blame the dead boy, blame your mother, blame society, blame your father, blame the gun, blame anyone but yourself for not being strong enough to put down the gun, to break the cycle.
Help us. Help us try to be better.
When morals decline and good men do nothing, evil flourishes. Every citizen has a duty to learn of this that threatens his home, his children. Society, uninterested and unwilling to learn from the past, is doomed. So we must never forget our history. We must never lower our guard. The essence of our democracy is rooted in the worth of the individual, that life has meaning that transcends any man-made system, that love is the greatest force on earth, far more enduring than hatred or the unnatural divisions of mankind. Help us make a difference.